Test. This is only a test. Test, test. This is only.
What's up, all you doodles and doodlers out there, you schemers and dreamers, and welcome back to another episode of Doodle Talk. This is episode 50, the 50, the big 50, Hawaii 50, Japan 50, coming at you live from New York. It's Saturday afternoon Doodle Talk with your host, me. Yeah, how's it going? This is not Saturday Night Live. This is Doodle Talk. In case you were wondering if you were on the wrong channel, you're not. You're on the right channel. How's it going? How are you guys doing? Hope you're doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Just a few things to go over. Not a lot of actual art stuff to report on this time, but the 5 Habits video is out, and thank you to anyone who's seen that because it's actually doing pretty well for like the videos that I put out, especially a lot better than most of the Doodle Talks don't ever really do well, but just compared to some of the other videos, like it's not obviously not doing as good as my like IP pad XP pen comparison video, but it started gaining a lot of views just like naturally over a couple days, which was awesome. It was really cool to see, and it kind of just like reinforced my idea of like, yeah, I think so. This is going to be the last 3 Doodle Talks for a while. It's going to be 50, 51, and then 52 will be like the 1-year anniversary kind of episode. And then I'm going to take a short break and focus on just like regular YouTube videos and maybe just do some Doodle Talks here and there with like, I still have some friends and some people I want to do some Doodle Talks with. So nothing's off the table, as they say. There are still cards that could be played. But yeah, it kind of just reinforced this idea that I was thinking of, right? Where it was like, man, I really just kind of want more time to invest into like other projects and other things and other YouTube videos, and then free up more time to just work on like animations and stuff. So yeah, thanks to anyone who's checked out that video. I am working on, I guess, you know what, maybe by the time this comes out, I'll either have already finished the condensed version of the like why you don't need a Wacom pen display video I'm working on right now. I'll either have finished it or like about to be finished, but I probably would release that on the weekend. So it, in any case, it would probably be after this, but keep your eye out for that if you're wondering when the next like other real like normal video is gonna be. And that one's going pretty good in the works. I've done the voiceovers and started putting it together, and have a few fun things I want to try. I wanted to maybe bring back a few elements of like I did a 2D avatar kind of video a while back where I like tried to make like 2 different versions of me like talking. I was like a little caricature of myself. I was actually just talking to one of my friends the other day about this. Still trying to figure out something that I think works, but I think there are a few parts where like I'm not on screen. It's not A-roll, it's B-roll with a voiceover, and I want to try and add in some of those 2D characters because I didn't like how it turned out when I did the 2D avatar video, like the YouTube video. But so I have a few other ideas that I kind of want to try for that. So be on the lookout for that. And then I also just have a few just like actual animation kind of things too that I'm working on. Really excited. Those I'm trying to do like a big project with smaller projects within it so that I have things I can kind of like show along the way, and hopefully that'll help keep me like motivated and inspired trying to finish it. But I've been, yeah, I guess I could talk about this. So those are like the few things that I would say to like report on for like things that have come out, right? The 5 Habits video, and then I have the Wacom video where it's showing you some of the like alternatives and why you don't necessarily need a Wacom pen display to make like really good art or be professional, you know. But one thing, yeah, I've been watching so the Japanese One Piece YouTube has been like in for the 25th anniversary of the anime. So the manga had its 25th anniversary this past year, or like at the beginning of this year, something like that. Like the anime came out like essentially a year later, I guess, so that's why they're like offset by a year. But in order like to celebrate that, they've been streaming 24/7 all of the anime on this YouTube channel, and it's been like a blessing and a curse because um, a lot of the work that I do, I can kind of like put stuff on when I'm working at home doing like translating stuff or typesetting the lettering and stuff for comics. Normally, if it's not too distracting, I can throw it up on the background, right? So most of the time it was okay. I was just I was putting that on the background for a long like a lot of the time that I was working. But every now and then, like when it gets to an epic moment or like a really important part, because I never watched the anime like all the way through. I watched the first like probably 50, 60 episodes like a long time ago, and then ever since then I've just like kind of popped back in to check out like cool fight scenes or obviously like the crazy stuff that happens during the Wano arc, especially because the animation during Wano just gets so amazing just out of nowhere. Like they like increased the quality and all these amazing artists just started working on it. So yeah, I saw this as a cool chance of like, I mean, I love One Piece, one of my favorite stories of all time, one of my favorite, I mean, top 2 or 3 at least mangas to read. I read the manga every week when it comes out, but I never really watched the anime. I mean, if you've seen it, you probably can understand why. The pacing is crazy bad. The quality, it was like okay. I mean, I don't want to shit on the quality too much, just as far as like the earlier seasons, but it's not like you're not riding home, you're not telling your grandma, you're not running home telling grandma about how good the fucking season 3 of One Piece anime but yeah, it's still cool, right? And I never want, like, the thing is too is like that's a huge thing to do, is like I already know the story, so I needed something like this where it's just like it's already playing it 24/7. There's only like one small little commercial that they run in between episodes, and it's One Piece stuff, so it's like can't even get mad at that. So it was like the perfect excuse to be like, okay, and I don't have to watch it all. That's the best thing. I can kind of come in and out during parts, and you can rewind it on the YouTube video. It had like up to 12, the most recent 12 hours. You could go back and watch whatever you wanted. So I was doing that and kind of just like um just watching a lot of parts. I almost forgot like why I even brought this up. I was watching a lot of cool parts, and that was awesome, especially when it got to Wano and like the towards the end of Wano. If you know, you know. No spoilers or anything, but yeah, just and just seeing the animation too throughout is really cool, because even in some of the older stuff, like there are moments where like the animation is really good, and I try not to shit on like 2D animation like in any way, because if you've ever even tried to just like copy how good like a low budget, not high quality anime is, or like show, what it doesn't even have to be anime, like even Scooby-Doo back in the day, like they were being very resourceful, and they were being, they had time and money budget, like they have constraints that they have to work around, right? But one of the things that I had kind of caught my eye, and recently, even before I was watching this, is I really love, like I've talked about this, I really love doing these kind of like short, segmented, or like looped GIFs, like little animations and stuff like that, and watching a lot of the openings, and the main thing actually was like the cut scenes, the like the transition, the little bumps that they do. Like the first one is when like the wanted poster like flies in, and it has the like, I forgot how it goes, but like the little theme music that plays every time. It's super cool because like in the Wano arc it does it, but it's like on a shamisen, and it does and I don't remember how it goes, but you probably know what I'm talking about if you've seen like any of the anime. And this is common, right? They do this for a lot of shows. It's like the middle break where they go to commercial, and especially for a lot of like shonen shows like that. I know, like, pretty sure Dragon Ball Z did this, and a lot of stuff. Sometimes you see it. Sometimes you don't see it if like the network or whatever you're watching it on isn't using them, but they always show them, and it's really cool because it's like normally between like 2 to 5 seconds, maybe even shorter. And I was watching them, I was like, oh man, this is so cool, because you would always see, especially like a lot of the Wano ones, you see them getting really creative and like having some kind of stylistic freedom and liberty within those of like what they can do with them and just have a little fun. And I noticed, I was like, man, that's really cool. And I had never really thought of those when I was thinking about like the stuff that I like to make, because one of the things I want to do more is like tell a little bit of a story. And I mean, sure, maybe this isn't the greatest example because it's normally just like a fun little thing, but there's always like one of them was really cool. It was like Sanji sees a bunch of girls and is like swooning over them, and then you see, and it's like the wood, the like the paneling, the like the doors, like these paper sliding door kind of things, and you see Zoro's shadow come from behind and he like slices them. This, like, imagine this just getting cut in half, and then you see Zoro like glaring at Sanji. Like, that's telling a story, and it's fun, and it's super short, and it's like short enough that they can really just like kind of go ham. And there's some like Sanji like spins around, and there's some really cool smears, and like since it's on YouTube, it's awesome because if you don't know this, if you're anyone who's like into animation, or even if you just want to like play something back frame by frame for whatever reason it may be, if you pause and then you use the two what is it, it's the period and the comma keys, but it's it's the little, the little arrows that go left and right. I forgot, like the bracket arrows, I don't know what they're actually called. If you can scrub through the video frame by frame using that on YouTube. I'm not sure, like in QuickTime or some other apps, I think sometimes you can use the arrow keys, but it's not always like frame by frame. A lot of the times it's like a time measurement, as in like seconds or milliseconds or whatever it is. And yeah, it's super cool. So having that already up on YouTube, because that's actually like sometimes when I want to look at a animation or something that's happening frame by frame, I will not be able to do it properly on like whatever video player I'm using, and I'll try and find that scene like on YouTube, so I can like manually go in and you can check through like every frame, and it's really awesome. It's a great resource, and I was able to do that for a few of those, and I was like, this is really cool. This is kind of giving me some inspiration, because before that, I think it was just a random thing I saw online too, is like one of the first seasons from One Piece where they have like, it's like one of those kind of like character introduction things where they all do like, it's all within the same like shot kind of, but the characters are just changing, and it's where like, Zoro pulls out a sword and does a slash, and then it cuts to Nami doing something, and then it cuts to Sanji doing a spin and then a kick, and then it cuts to Luffy and he does the punch, right? And I was like, oh, that would be really cool, because I have a few characters I've been coming up with, and it's actually similar to like the Vampire Samurai thing that I did, where you like the camera kind of like turns around him and he pulls the sword out, and then it does like a wipe and like cuts to him like pulling the sword down and holding onto it. I had some really cool ideas for like making my own like little like cut scenes like that, and like making it so that it's like to put them all together so that the characters are all kind of connected. Like each one is like kind of showcasing like either like a like a power that they have, or like a little like giving off some flair, some of their style, some of whatever it is about them, because I'm trying to make this kind of like universe where there's these like yokai kind of spirit ghosts, but also like, I don't know, just like incorporating some magic, some yokai, some like whatever. It's not super like strict, but I've had this idea, but I've been having trouble like fleshing it out so that it could like all be within the like one cohesive world. And I think this is a cool way to practice a little bit, just to get the characters down too, and because this is the type of animation that I want to work on right now. I was like, damn, that's perfect, that's super awesome. That gave me a lot of inspiration for what I want to do, and so that's what I'm kind of trying to work on in the background. So with alongside the YouTube videos that I'm making, that's what I'm trying to work on. I am in that spot right now where it's like, man, like trying to define the style a little bit. Like I don't need to come up with like a concrete style for it, but I do want them to have like enough similarities so that you can kind of tell it's all from like the same world and the same universe. And this is the hardest part, when you get to that point where I've had fun making a few of the animations, like the Vampire Samurai guy, Like I built out, or like I made a character model essentially for him, like kind of drew him a little bit before I did the animation, and that was cool. The witch one too for Halloween was a little bit different. It was more of like the Adventure Timey style that I've been enjoying doing a lot. And I'm trying to find like a middle ground there where I can keep it rough and loose, and it's still pretty simplistic, but it's detailed enough so that I can show like, more facial expressions, and it's not just the bean eyes, and like trying to figure out what I really want to do. And while it's fun, and like sometimes that stage of brainstorming is the most fun you're gonna have like throughout an entire project, it's also sometimes the most like agonizing. I remember, dude, I had a day last week where I was just like, I was gonna go to bed a little early, and I was like, I haven't drawn that much the past 2 days. Like, let me just work on some character designs. And I spent like 2.5 hours just like over and over trying to figure out, like, using some cool references from some people I've been inspired by recently, and like trying to fit it all into, like, figure out what I want to do for the style. And it was just one of those days that like you draw for like 2 hours straight, and I did not accomplish anything. I'm like more lost than I was when I started, and it hurts so bad. And you're like, would I have been better off just doing some fucking like gesture drawing or something? And then this always seems to happen too, is like the next day, I didn't force it, I really wanted to try something else, and I drew this one drawing. I'll try and throw it up if I remember. And I was like, man, that's cool. That was like kind of marrying some of the things that I was trying to nail down yesterday, but I couldn't. And maybe it's not exactly what I want it to look like, but like that could be it, or like that could get me to where I want to go. And that's always how it goes. And so if you're in that agonizing, you don't even know what your own style thing is, then just always tell yourself, remember, like, it's just that thing where it's like you're in a growth phase, so you're rejecting all of your own ideas because you can't see like yourself improving, or you're just lacking a little bit of skill to like properly draw what's in your mind's eye. And sometimes it might take you a few months to get to that point, or it might be the next day where you're just like, oh, okay, I needed to do it like this is what I need to do. Or you were drawing so much the day before, you're like already kind of warmed up, and like yeah, doing normal warm-ups is good too, but when you go like back to back to back of like days of drawing for like hours at a time, it feels amazing. It's like when you don't go running for 2 weeks and you go on a 1 mile run, and you're like dying. But if you just go on runs, multiple times a week, it's like, it feels easy. It's for all those types of things, right? So yeah, that I was doing that. That was another side story. Sorry, but yeah, I'm working on those animations. I kind of wanted to just talk about it a little bit, to kind of explain what I'm trying to do. And yeah, I like. It's really hard. I'm trying to find this spot. There's an artist called Mulan Fu, and I'm pretty sure I brought her up, but she does like such fucking good job of just doing these really cool stylistic kind of like looped animations, and she always tells a cool story with it. And hers are more of like either personal stuff, or like the feelings that everybody goes through, or like dealing with social media and like your phone. And she has a cool like social commentary kind of thing, but it's like there's zero preachiness to it. It's just like she's like does an amazing job of like creating like a metaphor, like a symbolic expression of like these things that we have to deal with as people. And she just does it beautifully, and she's telling a cool story and does it all in a compact, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 second like kind of looping or just short little animation. And I've been striving to find my own like style of doing that. And cause for me, it's like, yeah, I think about those things too, and I could try and draw like similar things where it's like maybe not as much the social commentary, but it's like I definitely feel sometimes that I want to draw about like, oh, like these are things I'm going through, or these are things that everyone experiences, these are these feelings, these emotions. but I also just love like cool shit, you know, like I want to draw a fucking vampire samurai pulling out a sword, and it's hard to marry those two things together of like I want to just draw cool and animate cool stuff and get better at animating, but I also want to have some purpose and some story. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and it's really hard, and like sometimes you never really find the right mix. You kind of go back and forth between them, but I do feel like I am. Oh, sorry if the audio just changed a little bit, maybe. Sorry about that. If the audio was different, I'm not really sure. Yeah, that's just where I'm at right now as far as like the things that I'm working on and what I want to make, and kind of just going off of that to like into the main topic of today. One of the things I've been thinking about, I actually wrote this down like a long time ago, but I think it really just kind of still holds true not holds true, but like, I mean, I think it holds true, but I think it's just been a little bit more relevant again in my life, because I've been, you know, when I've been trying to decide like what to do with Doodle Talk and stuff, it's like, at the end of the day, I am stopping the Doodle Talks so that I can try and do better in YouTube. And in turn, that means what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take a different path of like creating videos for hopefully like getting money down the line, or like just doing better with my YouTube, getting more views, getting more people, right? And I talked about it last week where I was like, you can't just do things for the views, because it's just going to be shit art, or it's going to be a shit video. And like I realized that, and I'm not that's why I'm saying like I'm trying to replace Doodle Talk with things that are still very meaningful to me, so that it's not just like, you know, I'm not just like selling out and like stopping one thing in order to just do whatever I think is going to get more views. I mean, this is a more simple situation to me, I feel like, just because it's like it's kind of a time and energy thing, and it's like, okay, I want to do this and that, and one of these things has to go, so I'm sorry, but it's got to be this, you know. So I don't think it's as bad. But one of the things too, while I was thinking about that, is like reaching back into like the inspiration and the motivation that we feel when we're kids. Like if you're like me, you know, and you grew up watching movies, listening to music, and like being inspired by like cartoons and anime and manga, it's like these things, like it all comes down to like the inspiration that we get when we're kids, and I feel like that's so important, and it kind of like molds us into the people that we are. And even if you're just like subconsciously reacting to it your whole life, like it's still there, it's still affecting you, and it's still incredibly important. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is the power of inspiration. The Reading Rainbow, power of inspiration. And imagination too. Just like that SpongeBob meme, imagination. I think that's, yeah, imagination, right? But yeah, because we only got a few Doodle Talks before the end of the year, and before I take a break, so I wanted to talk about things that were kind of, you know, important to me, and things that I think are worth talking about, worth listening and like checking out, you know. So yeah, I have some things that I've written down and some things that I've thought about, and like just that I want to talk about, because, you know, like it's kind of a hard sell, because to me, like, really inspiration is just one of the most important and most powerful things in the entire world. And you think about it too, like, just to take a really quick look at it as like something that's just in a very general scope of like, if you're you know, a leader or somebody that is like ruling through fear, you know, it comes in like, I'm talking about it in art here today, but you can think about it in all these different scopes and all these different things. It's like what motivates people to do things is like in one way or another, it's coming down to like you're convincing them, like even if you're like forcing them, it all comes down to this thing of like inspiration, or like causing something to happen, right? And you can do it the wrong way, so you can like be a dictator who rules through fear or whatever. Like technically, to me, that's like kind of some kind of like dark kind of like inspiration kind of thing, right? Or you can be on the positive side, where you're like trying to teach someone how to do things, or like leading by example. You're like creating this like atmosphere where you're inspiring people to do things that are really awesome, right? And you doing like small things in your life can really like affect like a lot of younger people too, right? And I think it applies to life. It's not just art, it's not just manga, it's not just cartoons, it's not just the stuff I'm going to use as examples as I continue talking about this, but it's really important. And I don't want to get into the weeds on like, you know, we gotta inspire the youth so that they can make more comic books and stuff. Like, to me, that is really fucking important. And it's really funny that some people would probably think it's stupid that I'm even talking about that, but I do want to just talk about like how important, like how powerful it can be when you're like super inspiring, or you're like just what you can do with inspiration, and like how it's changed me, and how I think it's made me just like, I think it's made me, you know, a kinder person, a more like I try to like look at the world in different ways. When you're inspired and like creating all the time, you tend to hopefully you tend to kind of like not let the bullshit of everything like affect you, because there's like things that you're focused on and that you want to do. And it's just cool when people are like creating things and inspiring each other and motivating each other. So that's all I didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to harp on like the weird overworld general uses too much, right? I'm gonna stick to the notes that I have too. Yeah, but like I was saying, like it influences us when we're young, right? And that's what I think makes it so powerful, like imprinting things on you, and like you know, for better or for worse. Like you could be inspired to do bad things by certain things, and that's what I was kind of trying to say earlier. But most of the time when you get inspired by like a work of art or like some kind of media, it normally tends to be a good thing at the end of the day, right? Because like me, like I was pretty lucky where I grew up in an environment where, you know, a lot of my friends are really artistic, or like we all played sports, and my parents were really encouraging to just like go do what I wanted to do, as long as I got my homework done and I got all my shit done, like took care of business. Like I had pretty free reign to just sit in my bedroom and make music during my free time, or draw cartoons when I was younger, or like do whatever, right? And I think that was really important. I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, and I'm so grateful that I grew up in a time when I did, because I would run home, turn on Toonami on Cartoon Network, and watch like 2 back-to-back episodes of Dragon Ball Z, followed by whatever, you know. And then I would just fucking like close my door, lock my door, and just like play fight with myself or with like action figures, you know, for like hours. And I was always so embarrassed if anyone saw me doing it or whatever. But I really do attribute that to like a lot of how I became a very like creative person. I remember I used to kind of still do, but I did this a lot more as a kid. I used to like, if I was walking home from school or walking to the bus or something like that, I used to play out like entire fight scenes in my head of like I don't know, Goku versus a villain that I made up, or Naruto versus something. Like a lot of the time it's like I was doing fanfic in my head, but it was so cool because it was like I was creating a movie. Like it was all it was normally just animated, right? It was like 2D animation in my head, and I would see these things play out. And it's so cool because you have this ability to like, you can make them do whatever you want. And I would just be walking, and I'd be looking down the road, but I would be so spaced out. I'd be zoned out, like probably to the point where it's maybe a little dangerous, where I might not have been reacting to things around me enough. But yeah, it was amazing. I would like have these fight scenes, and it would be like episodic, where it's like I'm walking to school, I'm playing this one scene, and like it cuts off. I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up later. And then, you know, walking back home from school, I pick up where I left off, and I try and like finish it. It is hard and I think this is probably the same for fan fiction. I don't really read a lot of fanfic stuff, but I'm assuming this is a problem where it's like you have too much power, or it's like you don't know how things should end. It's hard to like I can make the cool battle scene in my head, but I'm gonna always like the hero's gonna win, or like I don't know. It's hard to like come up with endings and stuff, but it's still, I think it's a great practice, and it's really fun. It keeps you entertained. Like when people say they're bored, if you're not like 5 years old and you're just talking about being bored because you got dragged along to go shopping or something, like obviously I understand that. But if you're an adult, or you know, a little bit older, and you say you're bored, like I have no sympathy for you, because it's like there's no reason for you to be bored. Even when I was a kid, I would like, and if I had to go to a doctor's appointment or like go with my mom somewhere, I remember I used to ask her for like a pen and like a little notepad, and I would just start drawing and stuff like that, right? And people have phones and shit nowadays too, where it's like, I don't know. It's, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of a good and a bad thing, but yeah, there's no reason to be bored anymore, especially like if you're not working, if you're at home, if you have like free time and energy and you're able-bodied, like you should never ever say you're bored. Like that should never happen at all. Like you can be tired, you can be stressed, you can be overworked. There's things where you're not always gonna be like, I don't want to fucking sit down and like draw something or whatever, right? Or I'm not good at XYZ, but it's like there's no room for boredom. You can always be doing something, even if it's like playing a movie in your head, right? And I think that's something I learned early on, and something that I think has kind of like stuck with me, because when you're watching these shonen, mostly shonen, right? But also like, you know, shoujo, kind of seinen, kind of like younger adult kind of shows, or reading the manga and stuff like that, you're seeing. And here's the thing too, is like I wrote this down as a note, and I think it's interesting because it's like all the shonen tropes are, yes, obviously most of them are played out. You know what's gonna happen. Good guy beats bad guy, good guy becomes hero, and they win, right? For most things, right? And I mean, that's kind of why it's nice when you see a shonen, it kind of subverts your expectations. Like Jujutsu Kaisen does this a lot, and that's why it's one of my favorites of all time. It reminds me of Yu Yu Hakusho a lot, in the sense of like the subject material and the type of shonen that it is, a little bit dark and grittier, but it also like subverts your expectations within like things that happen, the character traits, who is sometimes you don't even know who the main character is supposed to be in that show, and I love it. I love that for that reason. But I'm never gonna be mad at, like, you know, when Luffy punches the bad guy and wins. It's like, it's in that sense, it's like, it's not the destination, it's the journey, right? Like One Piece is so great because of all the stuff in between that gets you to the point at the end of like each arc or each like season or whatever, right? And it's these things that you see of like the cool thing about these like inspiring stories is they teach you that it's like in the most corny way possible, but the coolest way possible, you know? It's like you can be the hero, you can do what you want to do. Like My Hero Academia, for all of its faults, I think does toe this line pretty well. And it's a manga about like superheroes, kind of in a stylistic way of like American comic book superheroes, right? And it's very on the nose about like, you know, you can be the hero, anyone can be the hero. And it does have its moments of like you know, challenging that idea and like showing the darker side of things as well. But you can't get mad at it for being like, it's a fucking manga about comic book heroes, so like what do you expect it to be, you know? This is the problem where it is like adults like myself, even, it's like you have to remember we're reading stories that are like primarily for younger people, especially boys, up from like fucking like, I don't know, 5 to like 13, right? And I'm 30, gonna be 31 soon. Like, you gotta realize what these stories are for. It's amazing that they're even that good to begin with, and that we enjoy them as adults, right? But at its core, all these stories and all these shonens have this like kind of like, you know, Goku, like where there's a will, there's a way, and like the hero is always gonna win, but the hero's gotta struggle, you know? It's the hero's journey, right? Goes all the way back to like Star Wars and John Campbell, right? Like the hero's journey, like the kind of originator of that idea. And there's something so powerful. I guess that's a really great way to like tie it in too, that I wasn't even thinking about. It's like these iconic like archetypes of stories are so used and so played out, and often, you know, overused and turned into memes or tropes or things that people actually end up not wanting to watch or read, just on the basis that they are part of this genre or this type of story. And you know, it does have those moments of like, and yes, not all of these shonens are that great, or not all of these like hero movies are that great, right? I mean, just look at Marvel now. It's like a fucking dumpster fire of just garbage after garbage, where they did have some good moments like going into Endgame and stuff like that. So even for things like that, it's like, I don't know. I don't know like exactly what I'm trying to say here with it. It's just there is such a power in like the way to tell a story, especially to kind of show and inspire younger generations coming up, younger kids, that I think is so important, and we shouldn't like, it shouldn't be overlooked. It shouldn't be underestimated. It shouldn't be like laughed at as like, oh, this is just a kids movie, right? Or this is just a kids thing, because that's the other thing too. One of the things I did want to kind of touch on is like, when you look at a really good Pixar movie, you know, look at Up, man. Like the beginning, the intro of Up is just like, none of us were ready for that. It's like really sad, and it's a really amazing storytelling montage, and like, it's just beautiful. And then it goes into the movie, and it's a good movie, right? You look at things like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., all these like kind of Disney Pixar movies that have you know, solidified themselves as being incredible works of art throughout the years. People would look at those and like going back to the Up example, people would look at those and think like, oh, this is just a kids movie, it's stupid, I don't want to watch this. And sure, I get that if you really just don't like animation or anything storytelling like that. But you watch Up, that the first 10 minutes of Up is not for kids. That's not for the kids. That's just really great storytelling, you know, better than like 90% of all the other like live action films that are out there, you know, like as far as just like emotional impact and storytelling. So it's not just anime and manga, it's everywhere, right? And that's why I love animation, is because you have just in all forms, because you have this ability to kind of like tell a story through moving pictures and sound that you don't have the same ability to with live action. And I do love live action movies too, don't get me wrong, you know, but there's just something that just is way more powerful for me for animation. And I think part of the thing is too, is like, when you watch an animation, when you watch a movie, you don't think of it as much as like, at least I didn't growing up, you don't think of it as much as like, oh, there's a director behind the camera, and like, you know, they're making the movie by shooting it on the camera, right? But when you watched an animation or something like that, it was always more apparent to me that it's like someone's drawing all of that, especially as I started to figure out more of like how animation was made, you know? And it just seems like more of a, you realize it's more of like a thing that they're making, and you're like, wow, I want to do that too. And of course, like filmmakers and stuff get inspired by like live actions where they're like, I'm gonna go out and buy a camera and I want to do that too. So it's the same thing, but just was a little bit more apparent and more powerful for like the actual like drawing and animating. All right, sorry if there's been any audio issues. I don't think there's anything too crazy, but the levels might have been dipping in and out. Really hope it's okay, but yeah, I'm just gonna continue off from where I was saying. But like, yeah, that's the power of animation, right? And I think to kind of just wrap this all up, because I think I've spoken on mostly of like what I wanted to talk about, right? And like just the feeling you get. And this is for somebody who, you know, if you think that you shouldn't watch anime or read manga or like these kinds of things, even though you're an older person, which by the way is a very like Western ideal, like in Japan, you're not getting like, it's kind of crazy. They almost do it too much the other way, where it's like the otakus and like the people who are just super nerdy about things. But I love it. It's great. As long as it doesn't like ruin your life, right? But you know, if you're watching something and that badass moment happens, or the cool animation like gives you goosebumps, or like you tear up even though it's like the most generic like shonen trope ever, or like you knew the person was gonna die but they die anyway, and you just can't help but like get sad, or like it hits you, right? Like there's moments, and manga's even crazier, because if you're tearing up reading a manga, like it's like when you read a really good book, you know, the fact that somebody could make you feel that much just by writing words on a page, like holy shit, that they didn't even have to show you anything, they made you think about it and still made you affected that way. That's kind of crazy. So all I'm saying is like these shows, these movies, these stories, these books, these comics, these manga, these anime, they have an ability to really affect you on an emotional level, and I think they have an equally amazing effect to inspire you, especially when you're younger. So I always say like never shy away from like liking something, or wanting to watch something or read something, and get immersed in the story and be inspired by it, because it's so important. And especially when you're young, you got to do those types of things, because if you don't watch or read or see these types of media when you're growing up, then it's not gonna get you as much as it would have, or you're gonna be late to the party, or like maybe you'll be fine and you'll be just as inspired, and it'll be like even more amazing because it's like not something you're used to or didn't grow up with. But I think it's just awesome. So if you have kids, man, like show them cool movies, show them some Studio Ghibli movies, because that's one of the best ways that I can think of as far as like just like inspiring and showing people about the beauty of nature and like life, and teaching them things, show them some of the good Disney movies, like let them watch and like some cool series, and like I don't know, you guess you can curate it however you want, but just let people get inspired as kids. That's what I'm trying to say. And here's the thing, is like never underestimate the power of art and imagination, and like by the same token inspiration, right? Because I think it's the closest thing we have to magic, and is what truly makes us unique as human beings, right? Animals aren't necessarily creating art, they're not really doing the same things that we're doing. And it's like money and power and fame don't stand a chance when compared to creating something that would inspire a 5-year-old kid to go on and create something of their own. It just doesn't. No matter how much money or like, power, quote unquote power that you have, it's never going to be as powerful or impactful as what you can do to inspire somebody as a kid, as a teenager, as an adult, as an 80-year-old grandma. The power to inspire makes people motivated to go and do things of their own, and in turn it kind of just creates this really awesome, like I was saying, like positive feedback loop, like that one episode where I talked about those. This is one of those positive feedback loops. And it's just like never forget that. Never forget the power of imagination. Where's SpongeBob when you need him? But that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I know it's another cheesy topic. The thing about cheesy topics is like there's always a certain amount of truth in them. So I feel like if you talk about it in the right way, I think it can still be a positive thing and like something that's worth mentioning. That's what I'm trying to say. But thank you for listening to my rant on imagination. Should have 2 more episodes coming up before I take a little break. But as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.